we had was green, a 58 Chevy. And it was paid off like 2 weeks. We had paid it off. So it was ours like for 2 weeks. Come back from Ithaca, New York, where Andy was going for some
A
classes.
business,
And get to the toll booth to pay the toll, and this fella hits us at 40 miles an hour, smashes us right through the toll booth.
we were dead stopped in the toll booth,
About
paying
ready
the toll,
to pay the
when all of
quarter.
a sudden
Boom.
we got hit.
And the first thing that happened was the fella came out of the toll booth and he wanted the toll money, which was a quarter. Anyway, the car was totaled, rear-ended, and
And you were pregnant.
no, I was very glad that I was not pregnant.
Oh.
It was like right before, it was maybe, but I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Okay.
Good. So where were we going now? I think it's me time. Is that where we were? I'm not trying to be funny. Is that what's next?
Probably.
Okay, good. And let's shift over to Mom a little bit now.
So anyway, and then came the time when Karen needed a little brother or sister, and so I got pregnant with Michael. Not knowing if he, back then you didn't know those things, you know, it was all a surprise. You had to wait until the child was born. Anyway, he was the easiest of the three good pains, boom, and there he was. And it was a little boy, and he was the first boy on my side of the family in 81 years, because my great grandmother had 10 boys and no girls. And anyway,
And your sister had 2 girls.
3 girls.
3 girls.
Yes, my mother.
Your mother
had
had 2 girls.
Yes. So anyway, he was born. Bring him home from the hospital, and my mother stayed with us. And he screamed that whole first night. I mean, he just wouldn't shut up. And I'm like, oh, because Karen was a good baby. After that first night, he was perfect. He slept through the night, and he was perfect. There were no problems. So, so that worked out.
And he's still sleeping through the night, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, kind of.
I don't know. I'll have to check with Mo.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Hey guys, out of the living room and dining room now.
Wow, he's got good.
You hear me? And out of the kitchen.
Leave the house.
Go out the backyard.
Out of the garage.
Driving me nuts. Oh my God. Okay, take your sip and all right, good. So you talked about me coming along.
Oh, I have one thing to tell about that.
Okay.
Are
And
we
when you're
rolling?
done with it, we are. But when you're done with that, in between me and Ken is moving to Pequannock.
Yes.
So just start going into Pequannock. Keep the story short. If
Sure.
I might do this, that means okay, swap it. And I do want to get a balance. And you're my folks. I can just be blunt. You're doing awesome. If we had tons of time, I'd just say keep going. But I'm gonna keep you doing that. And
Okay. Okay, so anyway, we brought Michael home from the hospital, and back then, the pediatrician actually came to the house. They actually made house calls. So
Yes.
I don't know. I guess he came to see Michael after we came home from the hospital, and we're getting him ready. He's on his little changing table, and Karen is right there. She's 5 years and 2 months, and she goes, "What he got on his hinder?" And we said, "Well, he's a little boy, and little boys are like that. They're different than little girls. Do you understand?" Uh-huh. "But what he got on his hinder, and he has no eyegouts and no eyelashes."
Karen was mesmerized by this.
She
by
never
this
missed
little,
a trick.
Little
She-
boy, little baby boy.
Yeah, she never missed a trick. So anyway, so then Michael was like 5 months. Well, a little bit before that, I thought, why can't we buy a house? And Andy said, well, if we save for a house, maybe we can buy a house.
Yes, we have to save
Oh.
first.
So I put $50 a week away, and eventually I had $2,000
$2,000
for our down payment.
That was all you needed for a down payment then.
And we found a house in Pequannock, New Jersey, at Cape Cod for $19,250. And we bought it in November of '64.
November '64, yes.
And
That was a brand new house on a lovely street,
Third of an
Greenview
acre.
Drive, 45 Greenview Drive, and we were fortunate because behind us, on the property behind us, was a park, and the park had a pond. Well, at that time, it didn't yet have a pond. It was all under construction at the time, but the land was set aside for a park, and we were fortunate to be very close to that and bounded by that.
Let's see, Pequannock 45, good. I want to hear about the Corvair and what else about the house, the construction phase, anything?
67?
67 Corvair.
Okay, so is that Kenny first then, because Kenny's early 67, then the Corvair. And the construction of the house, any details we want to talk about as it was going in? And if there's not, don't make it, don't find for something.
I don't know that I want to get into it now, but when we purchased the house, we did not have the upstairs finished. It had a huge dormer that came with it, but the upstairs was not finished. We had a living room, 2 bedrooms, a bath, kitchen,
Dining room.
and a dining room, and a full basement. There was a full basement in the house. The intention was that, okay, we would work on the upstairs at a later point in time and finish it, which we eventually did do with a great deal of Jan's father's help. I did the plumbing and put in a full bath. We put in a hardwood floor. Jan's father there with the hammer, a floor nailer at the time, and he did most of the nailing. I did the fitting. I put a whole hardwood floor in with the sands, the scrapers and whatnot. Finished the hardwood floor, and of course the sheetrock on the walls and all of the things that needed to be finished. And one of the things that was a pressure point that we had to get finished was that Aunt Edna was in a state where she was not going to be able to live in Newark anymore, and things were tight because her father, her grandfather, was in a nursing home at the time, and money was extremely
She
tight.
was responsible for his bills, being a single daughter, and she had to give up her home, and then she came and lived with us.
Just from a financial point of view, she was going to move in, and we were going to have her live in the upstairs, one of the upstairs bedrooms, only one of the 2. We worked very hard to get finished and ready for her to use, which we did do. And unfortunately, one thing though, that it was in a winter time, and we had heat up there, but we hadn't worked out all the bugs, so that room was cold for poor Aunt Edna. But she survived and made it through, and we made it through that time.
Just 1 or 2 sentences. You talked a lot about the bedroom, and I got more footage, I think, in the bathroom. So just 1 or 2 where we put the bathroom in. This is really short. This is 10, 15 seconds of. You built a bathroom upstairs at Pequannock?
Okay. We're rolling. A part of getting the upstairs finished was finishing the bathroom, so that Aunt Edna would have a place to use rather than climbing up and down the stairs every time she needed to use it. So I worked very hard getting that bathroom finished and completely installed. We put in, instead of a tub, we put in a corner stall shower, which turned out very well. Fully tiled, tile floor, tiled walls, vanity, and of course toilet, and a cabinet, a linen cabinet, and Aunt Edna had a bathroom that she could use. A private one, I might add.
Good. Okay, so we did the house. It's time, I guess, for Ken to come along. And
I have one quick question. Did you mention how much the house cost?
19.
$19,250.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna bring Ken along, and
Okay, like I said, we really wanted 4 children, 2.5 years apart before we were 30. And going on schedule nicely, and after Michael, about 2.5 years, I became pregnant. And unfortunately, I lost the baby. I was not that far, maybe 3-4 months along. And then the next year, when Michael was 3.5, I did have our second son, who was Kenny Lump Lump. Actually, Kenny. And he was born in '67, and he was born at Chilton Memorial Hospital in Pompton Plains. I just recently found out it's the same hospital that Derek Jeter was born in. So that was quite interesting.
That was quite interesting.
Yes.
But, of course, we know nothing about him at that time.
No, that was after, yeah.
good. Good. Middle names. I'm Andrew. Ken's Robert. You want to talk about it or not?
Well, with naming the children, we just like Karen, the name Karen. It was going to be Karen or Susan, and Karen went out. And then when Michael came along, it was hands down Michael, and Andrew was because of Andy's father and Andy, to commemorate that.
We I believe did give some consideration to naming Michael, giving him a first name of Andrew. And what turned me off was that my father's name was Andrew, my name was Andrew, and all I remember being called was Sonny. And I said, no, we're not going to do that to our child.
Yeah.
He's going to have his own name. He's going to be Michael. But we will give him a second name. We'll let him have the Andrew as the second name, and that's how that came about.
And with Kenny, we liked the name Kenneth, and Robert was after my father, because he was Robert Michael. And so anyway, I felt I had a little angel that didn't make it, so that was my 4 children. So we stopped after Kenny.
Very nice. So it's
10 minutes.
so we got Ken now. We moved to Pequannock, then Corvair, Fetcher. All right, so we're gonna do the Corvair. Whatever you got for it, price, why you bought it. Was it a sporty type of thing?
Price.
2100.
2100.
It was a stick.
Brand new white.
And then
So
after
wait a
that,
66.
Was this stimulated because of the tree on the Chevy? No.
You know, I can't remember in between what after the blue Chevy.
Yeah,
Did
what
we
did
get
we
the
have
Corvair?
after the blue Chevy? You had the Plymouth. We
The
still had the
Plymouth.
Plymouth.
I don't know.
don't worry about that. The interesting part, nobody will carry the order, but it always struck me that, I mean, you had this little, it wasn't a Corvette, but it still was this little sporty car, which just didn't fit into what you, and me, my brother, and my sister, we remember it. I remember the stick shift, so part of this is just for me. So you're going to do whatever you can on the Corvair, and then go into the vegetable garden and Mr. Watch behind and what you'd plant
All right,
stuff.
I'll do
and
the Corvair. You can do the vegetable garden.
Mr. Watch, huh?
Wasn't it the name of the guy who owned the woods behind us, Mr. Watch, and he let you use land? If it's not important,
Yeah,
don't do it for me. Don't
Wow.
You remember? I could have been. I could have.
don't worry about that. So you're going to do the Corvair, you're going to do the vegetable garden. Also, the pine trees back there, they planted the pines from Bayville, and
Yeah.
if
yeah.
you want to say something about those. In fact, you might want to just go to things you did to change Pequannock, the home, things you built. Rip it.
Shortly after Kenneth was born, we were in need of a vehicle, an automobile.
Hold
And-
on.
What is
No.
that?
It's the toilet.
They have to.
No,
So-
that we have a leaker there. Every so often it fires itself.
Oh.
And don't worry about my kids. My kids get treated wonderfully in a few hours of something special. My parents were tougher on me. I got that on tape.
Who are your parents?
Okay.
Shortly after Kenny was born, we were in need of a vehicle, and we researched different cars. We had Up to that time, we had sedans, and we're happy with them. But at that time, Chevrolet came out with a sporty little car called the Corvair. It was a rear-engine vehicle, and it was designed to corner very well. I mean, you could operate it as a little bit of a sports car. It didn't have a lot of power, and but it was a nice vehicle. At a later point in time, Ralph Nader badmouthed it and said it was the most dangerous car on the road. I didn't find it to be that, but we enjoyed it. The car cost $2,100. There were a couple of things though that were not very nice about it. It operated fine most of the time in the year during the year, but when the weather got real cold and you turned on the heater was generated from airflow over the engine, and you could smell oil. so all you smelled was oil in the vehicle when you had to run the heater.
But it was our first brand new car.
First brand new car, right? Go ahead.
Mhm.
And how much did it cost?
$2,100.
$2,100.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
goodness. Indeed.
But I remember the McCabe's. They bought a little Beetle, a little Volkswagen, and that was brand new, $1,600. Yep. So things were different back
Well,
then.
we had to make up for that, though. I mean, we had to grow our own vegetables, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a huge vegetable garden in the back of the property that actually was on the person that owned this property. He let us use it, and our neighbors, the three neighbors, went in on a tiller to till the soil, and we rented this thing, and all three families used it, and to get the soil ready for planting. And we had a very nice garden, and we had a lot of vegetables, and I would no sooner put everything up, blanching and freezing it. We had a big freezer, and Andy would come along with the kids and the wagon, and there would be all the new vegetables to do again. But
Corn
and every Monday night,
eggplant.
Karen, and I remember her saying, "Oh no, Monday night, eggplant parmesan," because I had made all these eggplant. We had eggplant. I made my own tomato sauce from the tomatoes, and anyway, that's what we did back then.
The property in Pequannock was advertised as being a third of an acre. We had it was a strange shaped lot, had a very broad frontage, but the back of the lot was not a straight line. It was jagged. It had like a V shape in the back. A portion of that V, there was a neighbor behind us, quite a ways behind us. I would estimate probably almost a quarter of a mile.
Because it was all
his house,
woods.
but his land abutted our property. And I wanted to plant this vegetable garden, and did so. And we wound up talking to him, and he says, "Oh, don't worry, go ahead, plant it, use it." So we did, and that's how we got to use the vegetable garden. That really wasn't on our property. But I did try to outline the property a bit with cedar trees to kind of mark where our real property line might have been. And the reason I use cedar trees is, again, Bayville comes into the picture. Down in Bayville, they have these little sapling cedar trees that are just hundreds and hundreds of them. Well, we must have brought home about 25 or 50 of them and planted all along the back of our property in Pequannock. And those cedar trees got quite large. I think they started off at about 8 inches tall, and when we sold Pequannock, they were at least 5-6 feet tall.
Yeah, they grew quickly. We also had a really big tree in the back, and Andy put a really heavy, sturdy rope on this tree, and it became a popular.
Hold on. This is too key to. Can you please go upstairs?
Yeah, we're at
make
three
us
and a
stop?
half.
Hit it.